Capricorn, tell me, do you ever feel as if your childhood was never just a series of random memories, but something deeper, like a hidden training ground? Do you ever feel that every small moment carried a secret meaning, as though the universe was carving lessons onto your young heart long before you could even read them? From the very beginning, your story was never ordinary. You did not walk through life as a carefree child who knew only laughter and games. Instead, you carried an invisible weight that no one else could see. While others ran without worries, you felt a quiet responsibility pressing on you, shaping you, guiding you into someone different. While other children laughed without thought, you were already learning the art of silence, the power of patience, and the strength of waiting. Your childhood was not just about play or fleeting joy. It was about formation. It was the universe molding you into someone who could stand firm when others would fall. It was destiny preparing you for a life that was never going to be ordinary. And that is why this message is not just another story. It is a mirror held before your soul. A mirror that reflects the truth of your childhood, showing you that everything you went through was never wasted, never meaningless. Before we begin this journey, type in the comments, "I remember." Write those 2 words, because your soul remembers more than your mind admits. Your heart remembers what it was like to grow under the weight of silence. Your spirit remembers what it meant to feel older than your age. And today, you will finally see that your childhood was not pain, it was prophecy. So stay with me until the very end, Capricorn. Because when we are finished, you will no longer look at your childhood with regret. You will look at it with understanding, with reverence, and with gratitude. You will see it not as a burden, but as the sacred beginning of the person you were always meant to become. Capricorn, your childhood was not like everyone else's. You were never just a child in the simple sense of the word. You were born with something heavier, something deeper, a soul that carried wisdom far beyond your years. While others around you were running, laughing, and forgetting, you were observing, feeling, and remembering. From the outside, you may have looked like the quiet one, the serious one, the child who seemed too mature for their age. People might have even said, "Why don't you loosen up? Why don't you act like the other kids?" But deep inside, you knew there was something different about you. It was not that you didn't want to play or that you didn't want to laugh. It was that your spirit was tuned to a higher awareness, a sensitivity that carried both weight and wisdom. You noticed what others ignored. You sensed when something was wrong in the room, even before anyone said a word. The anger behind someone's smile, the sadness hidden in silence, the heavy air after an argument, these were things you picked up on as if they were written in clear letters across the walls. Most children could not see these things, but you did. And because you saw, you carried. You carried the burdens of others on shoulders that were still so small, yet already so strong. You may not have had the words to explain it, but your heart knew how to absorb what others could not handle. And though no one may have thanked you, no one may have even noticed it, you carried their storms inside your calm. Your toys may have broken easily in your hands, but what never broke was your ability to mend. You learned how to fix people, not with tools or glue, but with listening, with quiet presence, with patience. While others were chasing games, you were chasing peace. While other children were laughing loudly, your laughter was softer, fewer, but when it came, it carried depth. It carried meaning. Capricorn, even as a child, time seemed to whisper to you, you will not stay innocent forever. You must prepare. You must rise. And though that whisper felt heavy, though it made you feel different from everyone else, it was shaping you into who you are now. You were the child who felt older than your age, not because life was unfair, but because destiny needed you ready earlier. Your maturity was not a punishment, it was a prophecy. And every moment of that early seriousness was the universe preparing you to step into the greatness that others would only begin to dream of much later in life. Capricorn, do you remember the quiet? The moments when you wanted to speak, but you held your words back because deep down you felt no one would truly understand? Those times may have felt lonely, but they were not wasted. That silence was not emptiness. It was training. It was the very soil where your inner strength began to grow. As a child, while others filled the air with endless noise, you were learning something different. You were learning to listen, not just to voices, but to feelings, to moods, to energy. You heard what was not spoken. You noticed the sighs of your parents, the heavy pause in a conversation, the unspoken rules that no one explained but everyone followed. You understood invisible struggles that others could not see. Your silence became your teacher. It taught you how to look deeper than the surface. It showed you how to find meaning between words, how to recognize truth behind actions, and how to protect yourself with patience instead of rushing into answers. This silence carved a strength into your spirit that many will never know. While other children drowned in the chaos of laughter and play, you discovered how to be steady, how to stand still, how to let your spirit become strong without the need for noise. You were not fragile in your quietness. You were not weak for keeping your thoughts inside. Every moment of holding back was building you into someone unshakable. Your childhood silence was like stone shaping itself into a mountain. It was turning you into the rock that others would one day lean on. And now, when you look back, you can see it clearly. The silence of your childhood was never punishment, it was preparation. It was the universe whispering, "Capricorn, you will not just be a child of words. You will be a keeper of wisdom. You will learn strength not from noise, but from stillness." Capricorn, your childhood was not without wounds. You know it. Behind your strength today, there are memories that still echo. Maybe it was loneliness, the kind that made you feel unseen, even when you were in a room full of people. Maybe it was rejection, the pain of wanting to be accepted, but finding yourself pushed aside or forgotten. Maybe it was being misunderstood, your heart full of meaning, but your words never landing right with those around you. Or maybe it was being forced to grow up too fast, carrying responsibilities before your time, learning lessons before you were ready. These experiences left marks on your heart. But those marks were not scars of defeat, they were carvings of wisdom. Every pain you faced became a hidden teacher. Every tear that fell was watering the soil of your endurance. That rejection you felt sharpened your hunger for belonging. It gave you an unshakable desire to create love and loyalty where you stand today. That loneliness carved depth into you. It pushed you inward, teaching you how to discover treasures within yourself when no one else was there to remind you of your worth. And those early struggles? They became the very ground where your strength grew, the soil where your resilience was born. Others may have looked at your childhood and seen hardship. They may have seen a child who carried too much or a story that seemed unfair. But heaven saw something greater. Heaven saw preparation. Your childhood pain was not a punishment. It was a prophecy. It was life whispering to you, "Capricorn, you will know the value of every blessing because you have tasted lack. You will hold success with steady hands because you understand what it means to be empty. You will stand tall in joy because you remember the weight of sorrow." Capricorn, the truth is this: your pain was shaping you into someone unshakable. It was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to prepare you. And today, when you look at your strength, your patience, your determination, remember, they were all born in the place of pain. Capricorn, you were never fully understood as a child. People saw you sitting quietly, maybe playing alone or keeping to yourself, and they thought you were simply shy. But what they did not see was the ocean of thoughts moving inside your mind. They did not see the way you were watching everything, noticing every detail, connecting things together in ways no child your age should have been able to. You carried dreams that were far bigger than the walls around you. While other children thought only about toys, treats, and games, your heart was already reaching beyond the moment. You imagined a future that stretched higher, wider, and deeper than your surroundings. You felt destiny breathing on your shoulder even when you did not have the words to describe it. You were, in truth, an old soul living inside a young body. You carried wisdom you had not been taught. You carried caution that was not forced. And you carried an awareness that went beyond your years. You could feel when something was wrong before it showed. You could sense when people were genuine, and when they were hiding something. You moved carefully, thoughtfully, as though you knew every step mattered. While others imagined fleeting games, you were imagining the path of your life. While they wanted candy, you wanted peace in your spirit. While they chased fun that faded quickly, you were already searching for meaning that would last. You may not have said it aloud, but inside you, there was always the question, why am I here? What am I meant to do? And yes, this made you feel different. It made you feel like you didn't quite fit in with the children around you. Sometimes it made you feel isolated, as though you were walking a road by yourself while everyone else was busy running in circles. But Capricorn, that difference was not a curse. It was a mark. It was the fingerprint of your calling. You were never designed to blend in. You were never created to disappear in the crowd. You were built to rise above, to stand apart, to become someone whose life carries weight and meaning. Even as a child, your spirit was preparing you for that. That old soul inside you was a gift. It was proof that your story was never ordinary. It was the universe placing in you the ability to see beyond what was into what could be. It was heaven reminding you that your childhood was not just childhood. It was the first chapter of a much greater destiny. Capricorn, even when no one else noticed, you were never truly alone. All through your childhood, there was always a presence around you, a spiritual hand guiding you, protecting you, and preparing you. You may not have seen it with your eyes, but your heart has always felt it. Think back to those moments when you felt left out. Those times you sat by yourself wondering why you were different, why it seemed harder for you than for other children. Every tear you cried in silence, every night you lay awake with questions you couldn't ask aloud. None of it went unseen. Heaven was watching. Heaven was writing notes in the book of your destiny. Maybe there were times you escaped an accident. Maybe there were situations that could have destroyed you, but somehow didn't. Maybe you were drawn away from people or places that later turned out to be dangerous. All of those moments were not coincidences. They were signs of a silent guardian walking beside you. What felt like abandonment was actually protection. What felt like loss was actually a redirection. When doors closed on you as a child, it was because you were being steered toward a safer, higher path that your young eyes could not yet recognize. Capricorn, your story was marked from the very beginning. Your life was protected for a future you could not yet see. That unseen guardian was shielding your spirit, shaping your path, and making sure that even in the roughest seasons, you would emerge with your purpose intact. You may not have had the answers then, but today you can look back and see. Every time you thought you were forgotten, you were being hidden. Every time you thought you were falling, you were actually being carried. Your childhood was not only a time of struggle, it was a time of preservation. Capricorn, listen closely. Your childhood story was never random. It was not a series of disconnected events. It was prophecy. A script written long before you could walk, before you could speak, before you even knew your own name. Every moment of your early life carried seeds of destiny. Think back to the times you felt out of place. You wondered, why do I feel so different from everyone else? Why do I carry this weight while others are free? That difference was not a mistake. It was a sign. It was the prophecy of your life unfolding quietly. The child who felt different has now become the adult who carries wisdom. Others may have laughed at you, underestimated you, or called you too serious, but today that seriousness has become the reason you can handle challenges that would break most people. You have learned to see beyond appearances, to recognize truth beneath the surface, and to stand firm when others collapse. The young one who carried pain and silence has now become the soul who brings healing. Because you knew loneliness, you now recognize when others feel unseen. Because you endured rejection, you now have the heart to accept people who are hurting. Your pain did not leave you empty. It filled you with compassion, depth, and understanding. And the silence that once hurt you, the quiet that felt heavy on your shoulders, it has now become your strength. While others panic when things grow silent, you know how to stand in stillness. While others break in isolation, you have learned to use solitude as your power. Your silence was training you for moments like these, when strength is needed more than noise. Capricorn, your childhood was a sacred script written in advance. Imagine it, a book in heaven with your name on the cover. Each page was carefully written with lessons disguised as struggles, with wisdom disguised as waiting, and with blessings disguised as burdens. You did not live an ordinary childhood because you were never meant to live an ordinary life. Every memory, whether joyful or painful, was shaping you into who you are today. Every responsibility you had to carry too early was making you steady. Every disappointment was sharpening your endurance. Every moment you felt overlooked was preparing you to stand strong without the applause of others. This is your true childhood story. You were chosen, refined, tested, and hidden. You were chosen, set apart before you even knew it. You were refined, your character shaped in the fire of challenges. You were tested, not because life wanted to crush you, but because destiny wanted to prove your strength. And you were hidden, kept away from paths that might have destroyed you, until the right season of your rising. Capricorn, the truth is that all along, your life was under divine preparation. The hardships of your childhood were never meant to punish you. They were designed to strengthen your foundation so that you would never break under the weight of success. The silence you endured was the womb of wisdom. The rejection you felt was the path toward self-discovery. The struggles you faced were the proof that your life was marked for more. You were not a child forgotten by destiny. You were a child preserved by it. You were never ordinary, not for a single day. Even when you thought nothing was happening, something greater was unfolding. Your childhood carried a prophecy that you would rise, not in weakness, but in power. And today, when you look back, you can finally see the truth. Your childhood was not a broken story. It was a sacred prophecy, waiting for this moment in time to be fulfilled. Capricorn, your childhood may not have been easy, but it was never without purpose. Every challenge, every silent tear, every heavy burden you carried in those years was shaping you into the person you are today. What felt like unfairness at the time was actually formation. What seemed like loneliness was actually protection. What looked like struggle was actually preparation. Your childhood gave you gifts that cannot be taken away. It gave you resilience. Resilience so strong that no storm in life can break it. It gave you vision that no trial can blind. Because you learned early how to see past what is temporary and hold on to what is lasting. And it gave you faith that no setback can destroy, because you discovered in your young years how to survive when everything felt uncertain. And now, Capricorn, it is time to stop carrying your childhood as a wound. Stop seeing it only as the reason for your pain. Instead, carry it as a crown. Because what you lived through was not a curse. It was the very blessing that prepared you for your destiny. Your story was always sacred, even when you did not understand it. Engagement reminder. Type in the comments, "I remember." Yes, write those 2 words, because your soul remembers. It remembers the moments that built you, the experiences that shaped you, and the lessons that made you who you are. And in remembering, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your story. Capricorn, if this message spoke to your heart, stay with us on this journey. Subscribe, because more messages are waiting. Messages that will not only explain your past, but also prepare you for the future that is coming. This is your true childhood story. And now you finally know, it was never a burden. It was always a blessing in disguise. It was never meant to hold you down, it was meant to lift you up. And the crown you carry today is proof that everything you went through was not in vain.